All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to everyone joining us online on Eventive. This is the Edmonton International Film Festival presents the 2021 Oscar nominees Animation Chat. My name is Sydney Moule. I'm the executive producer of the film festival. Today, we'll be having a live roundtable discussion with this year's nominees, about this year's nominees, and a special Q&A with filmmakers and this year's award winners of our grand jury short animation prize, Michael Govier and Will McCormack, directors of If Anything Happens, I Love You. But before we get acquainted with them, I'd like to introduce you to our moderator of today's discussion, host of Moving Radio on CJSR, and a very dear friend of the festival and mine. I'm proud to introduce Christian Zip.
Oh, that's very kind of you, Sid. Yeah, it's I get so much more silent clapping here than I do at work. So I'll take it. I'll take it every time. Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys asking me to be able to do this. I've been lucky enough to do it in person at the festival, and now I'm lucky enough to do it virtually at kind of, the halfway point to the festival or so. I guess we might as well just start off and talk to Michael and Will right away, the co-directors, co-writers of the short film. Of course, it is Oscar nominated, that hopefully you have seen as part of the shorts package that EIFF is offering on its website. If you haven't, go check it out. Totally worthwhile to watch all three packages. And I guess before we kind of get into things, you can watch this Sunday to actually see if this short or anything wins Oscars. I believe it's all on CTV. So for Michael and Will, the first thing I was going to ask them about is that, from what I've read in interviews with both of you, is that it spent about a year of your life working on this script before the project was where it needed to be. So talk to us a little bit about the process between both of you and why you decided to let this script incubate for as long as it did before you could actually move forward and start on the actual project itself.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting us here. We're so honored to kind of be back in our home. We love you guys here at Edmonton. And as far as like the script, one of the things is we didn't have the time or the reality of the money to explore everything through boards or exploratory art, because that just takes a lot of funds. So what we did have is a lot of time and also words, and so that's kind of how we had to build out the film. And so that's why it took so long, is because we actually had to write out all the transitions you see on screen were workshopped on the page, and that's what the time really was, and that's why it took a year to write it. Because we keep going through different sequences and talking what the sequences are, where if you were in a bigger studio, and Will's worked at a bigger studio as well, he worked at Pixar for a number of years, and so he can talk about that kind of story, and you can actually keep building out animatics and building out storyboards, and you have that money and resources to have a team to continually build it out. But that was one of the reasons why it took us a year.
We'll let Will talk there. He's coming in with a good friend of his.
I brought my agent. I'm sorry, his mom, my wife, is supposed to do the pass off, but she's shooting her TV show right now, so she thinks is coming in. But we're so grateful to be here and so grateful to your film festival, and you really put us on the map, and we're super grateful. I mean, we took a long time with the script because I think we wanted to be really thorough. It's very serious material. We wanted to be really scrupulous and write something that felt like people would want to produce. I mean, it's a hard film to push through. And what we had as our selling tool was our story. So we didn't have any money. We didn't have any resources. We didn't have any art. So all we really had was our story. So we had to make it as great as possible. And that's what we did. We worked on it for almost a year. And we finally had something that we felt really proud of and that we're able to show people. Maybe we're really slow too, but we had something we felt like we could show people that felt like, okay, now we're in business. We have something we're proud of.
Yeah, and just so the audience out there knows as well that you can always type questions in the chat. That's a fantastic way for you to be able to connect with Michael and Will, because I'm sure many of you, if not all of you, have seen this short film specifically, and there's a lot to talk about it. That's for sure. So as we kind of went through a bit of the origin of the script, one of the other things that I found as well is that, Michael, you had said that this was meant to be an animated short pretty much from the very beginning. Even though, as you referred to, both of you had kind of a bit of limited experience, and Will, you having a credit for story on something like Toy Story 4. So what, I guess, makes an animated short the best vehicle for this film?
We felt it just had to be an animated short because we just thought it was the perfect gateway to have this discussion. And also, I think, a way to connect deeper to these kind of characters in this particular issue. As opposed to, I think it would just be, personally, I feel it'd just be way too intense if this was live action. And I think you wouldn't be able to resonate as much with the depth of the characters, and it really pulls you in. And I think you really relate to it. And now, so it's just always going to be animated. And also there's other stylistic choices, which I think would be so challenging to create, as far as the shadows and the representation of the shadows, which are kind of, their souls, or that other part of you that's grieving that you can't connect to. And I think that component would be very challenging in a live action world, unless you had, Harry Potter kind of money where you could make something crazy with CGI. But I think it would just be, even then, I think it would become more about that than rather than the actual the humanity of the story.
Yeah, the shadows always felt like the engine for the story, and they were just best represented through animation. I mean, I think historically animation has sort of been relegated to a kiddie space. And I think Michael and I were sort of excited to tell all kinds of stories in animation. And even though it was harder to do, to get financed and to push through, we're glad we did, because it feels like a lot of doors are opening in animation where you can tell all kinds of stories, and not just stories for kids, which are great, but stories about loss and grief and every type of story.
Yeah, we keep talking about like all stories are welcome, as opposed to just this, thing. And I think there's a natural bias I feel with animation, where I think the inherent thing is like it's for kids, and I think it really is for everyone. I think it's just like cinema and film; it's for everyone. You can make it in any flavor, and I think you can do the same thing with animation. And that was also one of our goals, to show what animation is capable of doing, and the level you can reach with animation.
I thought in watching it, it brings a different kind of weight, and it also probably makes it a little bit easier for it to communicate with a broad audience. You're dealing with such an incredibly sensitive topic that you don't know what your audience is going to be when they see this, and what their connection is to it, whether it's within their community, whether it's just something that strikes a chord with them, whether they've had personal experience with it. So what I thought about it is that this is an incredible way to be able to get that message across and really feel the weight of it, but to also have it reach such a broad audience, and not to kind of make it like really overly heavy-handed and dramatic, and almost in some ways, unfortunately, even though it's a very serious issue, alienate some audiences just because this thing would be loaded with triggers.
We were very sensitive, and also I think that goes back to the time that we spent at the beginning, as far as how we wanted this to feel. We kind of talked, it's like it kind of feels like kind of air, or like a fog, as far as it just kind of wraps itself around you, and and all of a sudden you realize you're in it, as opposed to pushing you and driving you in a way where, like, maybe it's like the waves, where it's just like it's forcing you to feel something. We just wanted to kind of to casually kind of surround you, and then you're encompassed in these feelings, you're encompassed in their lives. And that was kind of a goal of the film, and just to kind of bring you in and guide you through it.
Yeah, I mean, the film is sort of, inherently political. So no matter what, I mean, it's an issue that is important and that gets talked about, and sadly happens a lot. But, we wanted to our focus was really on making this story about loss and about grief. And just, I think the power of story is that you get to hang a lantern on just one moment in time. And I think that can have, not just our story, all story in general, it can have a much bigger impact than the news, which just feels like this flurry of activity, and things become statistics and things get lost. And story has just such power where you just get to stop and just look and listen and feel for a moment. So we just wanted to be very sort of specific and just narrow in on one moment and one family.
And just to show what that grief looks like. And this was kind of, a representation of grief. And also, it's not about how, I mean, it is and it isn't about how the daughter died. Like, that's not the point of the film. It's just also to show she was alive for 10 years. And this is also showing those 10 years. And sometimes when these tragic events happen, the focus becomes the end moment as opposed to the amount of time that this person was with us. And it's just to kind of show both ends of that, even though it is a tragic end and the child was murdered, but it also shows there was 10 years with that they had. And then they're showing what grief looks like, and even visually it's visually represented in the film, where you see like the grays, it's kind of washed out on the edges, and that's kind of the lens of grief through the film. And then when you get to the memory section, all of a sudden you see color start to come back, but it's still through the present day lens of grief, because the parents are still actually sitting on that bed having that conversation. So when you see color come in, the edges of frame are still washed out because it's through that present day moment of that conversation, because they're just sitting there all night finally having this big conversation that they've been putting off and have refused to kind of connect to their grief.
Yeah, and this is, it's a great conversation to have. And for sure, for anybody else that's out there in the audience, remember that all you need to do is, if, you're a little shy, sometimes people get, I don't know if you find this, Michael and Will, sometimes people get a little shy in the audience, even when you got them bums in seats. So definitely feel free, even if it's just a comment about the film itself, that you can connect with us through the chats there. Let's see here. Vincent has posted something for us that the audience has said the animation style was gorgeous. Can you elaborate any further on the choice of animation style? The look of the animation is beautiful.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We worked very hard that the story led the style, and that the style didn't lead the story. We weren't kind of going, oh, it's going to look like this, place that makes that kind of animation, or this animation. We weren't chasing animation. We were chasing our story, and the story led to the style. And the more we realized it needed to be more and more minimalistic, because we didn't want you to be pulled out of the story by being obsessed with the background or being obsessed with how well the trees are animated. The animators that worked on our film were all master animators, and they could do everything that Pixar can do. So we actually kind of throttled them, and we kept saying, no, we're stripping more out of the frame, more out of the frame. And that was kind of scary. How much can you remove from frame and still tell a full story? Even with color, with design, all of it, we kept stripping it away to just focus you right on the story, right on the emotion of each scene. And that was, it was scary, but very rewarding at the end.
Yeah, we wanted total parsimony. I mean, I thought, as Michael said, we kept stripping the film and stripping it. We thought that we could do more with less. It was a daunting style to commit to, but once we did, it really started to pay off, and we really wanted to zero in on the emotionality of the scene. And I think that loss that acute does have a feeling that is barren and desolate, and so it felt like we wanted loneliness. But in the memory section, it ended up working really well too, because implicit memory kind of works in the way that when you remember the past, you don't remember everything that was in the room, but you do remember how you felt. So it really worked it started to pay off, and it became really exciting, even though it was scary at first, because there's no dialogue either. So you hope that it's enough to get you there,
And our North Star, if you go back and watch the film again, you'll see the scene when the mother walks up the stairs, and the stairs kind of appear behind her, and the room shows up and the door shows up, and they kind of appear in different sequencing. That was kind of our North Star as far as like how barren and the design we wanted to look. And if you look in the bedroom, when we pan around the bedroom, you'll see everything in the bedroom. Then when you look back, it's just the bed. So it implies that there's furniture, there's all these things in there, but they all fall off a frame when they're no longer needed. It's like you get it. You understand that that's a bedroom and you don't need to see, a nightstand and, all these other books on a shelf. You get it. And so it's like that was kind of a design we focused on as well.
Yeah, another one of the questions in the comments was about a specific event inspiring this, but I guess that kind of bleeds in a little bit into something else I wanted to ask you about too. And you guys were cognizant enough of the fact that you needed to do some outreach before you could actually kind of get to a place where you felt comfortable with the script. So groups like Every Town for Gun Safety, Moms Demand Action, and even some survivors of gun violence. So talk to us a little bit about maybe what it was from these groups or from these people that maybe helped inform what you were doing, and maybe how it it helped this project grow.
We reached out very early on to Every Town for Gun Safety and sent them the script, and also sent them like an early kind of animatic. And we just wanted to make sure we were being very sensitive, and because it's sensitive material, and we didn't know how people would respond and what the response would be. And this is where it's slightly surprising. Once we sent it to Every Town, they turned around and they said, we don't have any notes for you. We think this is doing a wonderful service. And they said, how can we help you? And then they wanted to, be friends with us and kind of help any way they could. And they put us in touch with survivors from Moms Demand Action. And we had a screening, and survivors came for them. We had a very early screening of the film for them. And it went very well. It was very emotional because they were then sharing all of their stories of grief with us. And so it actually became, grief can be very bonding, actually. When people really open up and you actually share your grief with each other, you actually bond in a very strong way. And also it keeps your family members that are no longer here alive. And so we heard all the tales of the family members that are no longer here, some silly, some fun, but, and it was a wonderful way to bond with a community. And basically we made friends very fast through this incredibly intimate act of sharing grief. But there wasn't one specific event that inspired this tragically, because it's kind of all of them. I mean, it's like Will had said, it's just kind of a recursive thing here in the US as far as how often this continues. So it wasn't one particular one, but it became, once the film was fully released on Netflix in November, we had a lot of people reach out from Sandy Hook, Parkland, Aurora. They wrote to Will and I directly, and it was very humbling, very emotional, them sharing the tales and saying, basically they were saying, thank you for making this film. And so that was very, they felt seen, and that was very rewarding.
Yeah. I mean, that has to be, the goal. As much as you create in order to get something that maybe you and Will feel like you want to say, or that maybe that's something that's affected you, choosing to deal with a story like this, you're really bringing in so many other people and their experiences as well, just to even get it done. So that has to be the deeply rewarding part. Did you feel like you had to approach a project like this that had that kind of weight, or did that become intimidating at some point where you felt like, how are we going to be able to accomplish this in the way that gives everyone and these events and moments like this the respect they deserve?
I think we just wanted to start with, I felt we just started with where we could all connect. And I think every person experiences grief. And I think we all experience that. And I think that's kind of the root of what it was. And I think we started there. Then we wanted to talk about this particular kind of grief, where you lose someone suddenly. And it was like, thinking back on it, it seems bigger than it was, because I think we just wanted to climb a mountain and we didn't realize how tall it really was. But it's like, at the time, we just wanted to tell a very authentic story. We wanted to honor this story. But looking back on it, sometimes I guess we were so focused on the story that I didn't realize maybe how big it is. Is that kind of what you understand what I'm saying, right, Will?
I agree with that too. I think you don't think that you're going to win the Edmonton Film Festival and that you'll get 70 million views on TikTok and that you'll be nominated for an Academy Award. I just think that you're trying to be as true to the story as possible. And I think that hopefully we can do that again, because we just got so detailed with what we were doing that it just became everything. We just dove into it, honestly, when you're just making a movie, like that was so hard to get made, you're just trying to finish it. You're trying to be authentic to it and tell the best story you can. Everything that has come after has just been surreal and great.
Yeah, our first goal was like, can we finish it? Like, how many projects, we've all been on part of projects that just kind of, really don't launch. They get close, but they don't launch. And I think it was like, can we finish it? Then it's like, well, maybe we can get some film festivals. Then it's like, well, maybe we can win a film festival. Then all of a sudden it just keeps jumping and jumping and jumping. It's been just quite a blessing. And also how it's resonated with this community. Every town in February for Survivors Week used the film to lead discussions in grief. And so they played the film for everyone within the different organizations through in America. And it helped lead discussions of grief. And it's like, you always wish that something you create can give back. And we never thought it would give back at this high level. And it's just, we feel so humbled.
Yeah, it's got to be incredible to see that kind of momentum, particularly when it comes to being online like that and finding those different avenues that get you eyes that you'd never thought of before. You referred to it a couple times, but we might as well. I'm just going to say we got questions online. I'm definitely getting to them, but we'll just transition to this real quick. You've kind of mentioned a couple times involvement with our festival, specifically Edmonton International Film Festival. And even though you weren't able to attend, obviously, for obvious reasons, maybe just talk to us a little bit about what that connection has meant and how it was one of another small part of many, many things that fell into line that got you to this point where you're on the cusp of, being part of something really special. It's an Academy Award ceremony and you're nominated. You're not just, look, I'd be happy to go as like just a seat filler, but like you're going in a very different capacity. Talk to us a little bit about that journey and how EIFF has been part of it for you.
Absolutely. And I know probably the audiences know, but I'll just give a quick recap. Obviously, to get to where we are, to even submit your film to the Academy, you have to win an Oscar qualifying festival. And Edmonton was the one that we won. And that qualified us. And you get this great letter. And then the Academy says you are qualified to submit. And we were one of 96 films that were submitted this year. And then from there, they create a short list. And so it's kind of a funky category. They kind of cull it twice. They create a short list of 10 films, and then we made it to the short list where that branch in the Academy voted on. Then that same branch votes again for the 5 nominees. And then right now, it just ended, I think about an hour ago, the full Academy votes, and then they can vote for the final winners. And so Edmonton was like, if you want to think of it, like they lit the fuse that began the train, began us going. So we're very grateful to have that opportunity. And this is why film festivals are so important. It's like we wouldn't have these opportunities without film festivals like yours supporting independent cinema. It's like some people think we're very strange because, we're now with Netflix and they say, what's it like working for Netflix Animation? And I say, I have no idea. I've never even stepped in the building. It's like, we literally made this around our kitchen table, Will's kitchen table, and Mary Ann's kitchen table. And then we were so lucky to get distribution, but this was after we'd won your festival and long after we had already started to submit to the Academy. So they came in very late in the the game, which we were very blessed for, so more people could see it. But it was very much, we were an independent film from the beginning.
Yeah, you guys gave us our Oscar wings. So
yeah, you're the bell. You're the bell.
I mean, it's hard to even get to the 96. There's thousands of films.
Yeah, I mean, getting to the 96 is just an achievement in itself. I mean, and we were honored like that. It's like, oh my gosh, we didn't even think we could get to that. And then you get to the 10 and then to the 5. And it was just super exciting. But yeah, I am so happy that it is nominated. It's been an incredible moment for us. Because also more people are seeing the film, and it's leading to greater conversations about what the film is talking about. And that's also the thing, is every time you win something or you level up, more people are seeing the film. And I think then greater conversations can come out of that. And I think that's the real nice thing with each of these achievements, like the byproduct of these wonderful achievements.
One of the questions that somebody had online here was, they said it's a fluff question. I don't know. It's not that fluffy. What has the experience been like as an Oscar nominee? I'm sure you desperately miss going to parties with free food. That's probably part. But and how will you connect with the ceremony on April 25th? They've kind of just revealed some of those details about how the ceremony is going to work and stuff like that. So yeah, what's the experience been like, and what's the lead up? And I'm sure this person wants to know what you're wearing as well. And even though they didn't ask, I know that's what they're going to want to ask you.
It's been so exciting. It's been Oscar morning was kind of surreal. You know, we get up really early. It was like 5:30 in the morning, and we didn't know when they were going to announce our category. And you're sitting there, and we were right at the beginning. It was like really quick, and it's like, oh my gosh! So that was very exciting. And then I immediately call Will, and we're just kind of like, oh my gosh, this just happened. And then it's a moment I got off the phone with him. I had 57 text messages in those 3 minutes that I was talking to him. So it's, I think anyone who's ever had my phone number is calling me and congratulating. And so it's very exciting to have, that support from, friends, colleagues, the community. And so it's a very exciting, strange moment. Obviously we're in a strange year as far as the COVID is concerned, but they are having an in-person ceremony. It's small. It will just be the nominees. And so we will be there. So you can see us. And that's about it. Will, what's your experience?
I'm wearing an up-and-coming designer named Giorgio Armani.
I hope it works out for that guy.
No, I mean, when they announced when they announced your film, it is one of the coolest feelings in the world. Also, because we truly were the bad news bears. I mean, we were borrowing laptops from people. We had zero money, and we almost gave up a billion times. So it was the most. I've worked on a lot of independent films, and this was the most independent film I've ever worked on. And we're doing it again. We're making another short right now. And I had sort of felt beaten up by the studio system a little bit. I had a couple of films fall apart. And I found I fell into the creative arms of Michael and Marianne Garger and this whole team. And it was just awesome. It was the most fun I've ever, even though it was a hard film and there were hard days, it was the most creative communion I ever felt on a project. So we're already doing another one. It's awesome.
Yeah, that kind of addresses something else someone else had asked there. It's the prerequisite. What's next? But I'm sure you want to keep that relatively close to the vest at this point there, and I'll let you say whatever you want. But
we're doing another short animated film, and we've already written that. We're launching that, and then we're working on setting up a feature film, so animated as well. So both of those things are kind of in the works, and we're just very excited about it. It's the same team, same crew. So we're getting the band back together. We all loved working with each other.
Well, that's amazing that you can do that, and I'm sure that success helps facilitate that for sure. You mentioned Marianne Garger, who is one of the producers that helped you kind of get to this point, but like anything else, even something this small or independent, if you will, I mean, it takes a village to make even a short film in itself. So maybe talk to a little bit about what the context is of how Marianne was part of that success for you, and also probably the animators that you have on this film as well, and how you worked with them, and who were some of the people that you felt like really helped this collaborative process.
Absolutely. We found, we were so lucky, Will's agent, Kia Chiati, he put us in contact because we said we were looking for, a producer, and we needed someone who had a lot of experience. And Marianne's been working for decades in the studio system. And so they put her in touch, and she loved the script, was obsessed with it. And so from there, that really got us going. And she was such a good producer because she gave us the confidence. She believed in us. And this is what you want in a producer. You want someone to say, nope, you guys can do it. You have a vision and you can execute it. And that was the wonderful gift that she gave us. And then from there, we reached out to Maya Burnett at Cal Arts, and she was a professor there. And we said, hey, we're looking for animators who maybe just graduated from Cal Arts who are up and coming, because this is Will and I's first animated film we've ever directed. And so we also wanted to extend that to give a lot of other people first opportunities. And so our animation director, Young Renault, this is the first time she's ever got to be an animation director. Normally you'd probably be throttled and have to wait maybe like a decade, and then you'd get a shot. And the other animators, this was their first job out of college. They had never had a professional job. So it's like the whole team of first. And so I think because of that, there was a wonderful spirit of like, no one has told anyone no too much, so we can just kind of try and just build things together. And so it was a very good spirited group where it's like, you're young and you're like, no one said no too much. So you're like, yeah, why not? Why not try it? You don't have to listen to people say, yeah, it's not done that way. And I think that spirit, which is a spirit of, I think, a lot of independent cinema, went through the whole project.
Yeah, one of the comments in there too said, truth always wins out with an audience, and kind of validating your success as well, right? Some people have been asking about, there's names associated with the film, like Laura Dern as one of the executive producers, I think Courtney Cox as well as, I've seen it mentioned that, Will has had a collaborative relationship with Rashida Jones as well. Is that, when you find people with that kind of sway, that have that kind of influence, is that really what helps you get you over the top? Because I've seen that several times, especially in this year's too, where producers will kind of jump on board a little bit later with a name, and that kind of takes your project to the next level.
Absolutely. I mean, it helps. I mean, if you have champions and champions of that power, Laura Dern, I mean, she's, a legend. And we were just so lucky. We showed her an early cut, her and her producing partner, Jamie Lemons. We showed them an early cut of the film, and they were just obsessed with it, and they work a lot also with Everytown. So there was a partnership there as far as like, this is a similar cause that's near and dear to their hearts. And they said, how could we help you? And we said, well, if you want to, you're more than, said, can we join the team? And we said, of course, please jump on board. And so it was just a wonderful thing. And I think any of these films, if you could get these champions, do it. Like, just do it. I mean, it's you need to. And I think we were so lucky because a lot of these people get asked 100 times a day to champion things. And I think that's also something to remember, that it's like, but just keep asking, and maybe you will find the person and that fits their project and what they want to champion. And if you're lucky enough to get them come on board, just, take it. Don't say no.
Yeah, Laura and Jamie have been passionate and dedicated, and they've been incredible producers. They're really hands-on. It helps to have, powerful producers in your corner when you're making such a small film. It definitely helps to get it over the finish line.
This is one for me here, because I know we've talked a lot about specifically, obviously, your film, because you know it the best out of all of them. But you've seen some of these other films as well that have been nominated, and maybe ones that you talk about on this list of 96 or outside of that were some other animated shorts that maybe you saw this year being part of other festivals. What were some other things that you saw this year that you would love to, shine a light on, hopefully, and maybe get them some views, or at least get somebody to check them out? What were some animated shorts that impressed you two this year?
I thought it was a strong year. I thought there was a lot of wonderful films, and also I thought there was a lot of wonderful heart. Kapamaihu, that was a beautiful film. It's a Hawaiian film. I was obsessed with the backgrounds and the color design and the color design of the whole film. I always call it Grab My Hand, but I think the full title is Grab My Hand, A Letter to My Father. I thought that was a beautiful film. I thought it was so heartfelt. I thought the animation was very simple, but it also thought it fit the story perfectly. And this is like what we talked about with ours. We wanted, we like the style to fit the story. And I thought that one looked really well together. There was just so much things. And also there's different techniques that are always so exciting. Like what Traces did. I thought what Traces did in animation was incredible. I mean, the fact that is, what is that? That is, was it sand on glass, right? Right, you guys have saw that, and there was sand on glass, and I thought that animation style was so incredible. And it's things like that are inspiring, where you kind of think you're outside the box. And one of our fellow nominees, Eric O, who did opera, I think was inspiring just on the scale. And we've been kind of in a handful of interviews with him, and that thing is it was designed to be a museum piece. And it was designed to be an 8K, and it's projected on the side of a giant building. And it's like those kind of things in animation, and that scope is so exciting and inspiring to kind of show animation can do everything. And I think it was a good year to show that.
Yeah, and I think that's the most impressive thing, is that it feels like in the last decade or so, there's been much more availability of these films. They don't seem to just be relegated to maybe showing before a feature at a festival and then just kind of disappear. Whether it's Disney Plus having whether it's Pixar films on shorts that have been nominated through them, or whether it's for yourself looking at something like Netflix, or whether it's a streaming platform like Shorts TV, or festivals like ourselves or others being able to stream it to an audience in a specific region. It seems like there's a lot more hope of what does it mean to be viable as a short filmmaker, and maybe that leap to bigger projects seems even shorter. Would that be fair to say?
I think I hope this is the new golden age. That's how I feel. I hope it really is for short films, short animated films, and all short films. When we first had our script, we went and pitched to Netflix and said, hey, would you like to do this? And they said no, for two reasons. One, they said, we think it's a little too sad. Two, we don't do shorts. And that was the big reason. We don't do shorts. It's not something we do. And then in that time of our timeline, they've now come around, and now they're really taking on more shorts. They're taking on live action shorts. They had already started to do short documentaries, but they had never done live action or animation. And now they're bringing those on. And, like you said, Disney Plus, these other big platforms are taking them on, which I hope helps everyone. And then it starts to get more eyes on shorts, and people start watching them, because I love them.
We ended up being the #1 film on Netflix in 16 countries and broke over 60 top 10 lists. So I think you can have the same or better experience in 12 minutes as you can in 120. So I think that people seem to be interested in shorts because of awards consideration, but they actually do well on stream. They can do well now on streaming services too, which is exciting.
And I think because of that, since we were so successful, which is crazy to say, because when we signed up, we said, how do you get on those top 10 lists? How many views, how do you get it? And they said, don't worry about it. A short's never done it. It will never do it. Because those are Queen's Gambit does that. Nothing and we go, okay. And then the film came out, and we broke the top 10 in 75 countries. So it was this record-setting thing. So now the guy who does we had this meeting with the guy who does the algorithms, and he said he couldn't be more wrong. And he said normally when he does his job and he predicts where people will chart, he said he's within 2 to 3%. And that's like standard for his, that's how good he is at his job. Ours, he was off by like 228% or something. So it was just like kind of astronomical. I hope he didn't get fired. That's all I'm trying to say. I feel real bad if we had some success and this poor guy loses his job.
Not to flex either, but I say it because it's cool. We have a billboard in LA on Wilshire or Sunset, whatever.
It's on Santa Monica and Westwood Boulevard, right there.
Okay. But to have a billboard for an animated short film was not happening last year because they weren't even doing short films. And so now there's billboards for short films. So it definitely feels like things are changing.
Yeah. Like that has to be another thing that's kind of blown your mind. Would that be the one thing, like driving past something where you just talked about how you had to borrow laptops in order to complete it, and you're like, that's a giant billboard, which kind of becomes that hallmark of like, that's success, especially if, particularly if it was your face. But the fact that it's your project, right, and it came from your mind, that's equal, right? Is that the most mind-blowing thing that's happened in the last few months? Or is there something else where you're like, no,
TikTok.
Yeah, TikTok, the billboard is high up there. But TikTok was the biggest surprise because a lot of kids, a lot of younger people, a lot of all ages, but a lot of started young. What they would do is they would film themselves before watching the film. They'd film themselves in the middle and then film themselves after. And afterwards, they're crying and talking about their experience with the film. And like sometimes they're saying like, I'm gonna go hug my mom, I'm gonna go hug my dad, and it's just this huge emotional, intimate experience where if you're in a film festival or in a theater, maybe you can kind of look down the row and see how people are reacting. But this is just like this. It's so intimate. You're looking directly at their face and seeing them have this full emotional, vulnerable experience. And I've never seen anything like it. And there was 70 million views on TikTok of all these people posting these videos. And it's just, I've never seen it. It was just, so if you go to the hashtag and if anything happens, I love you, you'll kind of just can start scrolling through them. But it was just emotion. And I don't know if Will can say, how did you hear about, I had never heard about the TikTok stuff as far as this. And Will's the one who found this.
Right after the movie premiered on Netflix, my niece texted me and she said, Uncle Will, your movie's trending on TikTok. And I was like, I'm middle-aged. I don't speak TikTok. I have no idea what you're talking about. So I downloaded TikTok and there was people, kids mainly, but people all over the world filming their reactions. And it was a really intimate response. It was crazy.
Do you feel
so
like...
and also I think it was like these kids were kind of showing up with their fears and their vulnerabilities, because also I think they've been locked inside for this year during the pandemic. And I think the fears are coming out of like what schools feel like. I mean, Will and I, and I don't know what your experiences were, but we grew up with only fire drills. We didn't have active shooter drills. I mean, that is a traumatic event and a different life experience than a lot of young people are having. And I think this film brought up a lot of those emotions and what that experience is like. And I think the pandemic and being in their bedrooms for a year kind of helped them maybe get something out of those fears and concerns.
Has, an experience that you talk about, like seeing all those videos and knowing that it has reached an audience, do you think in some ways, not in general, I mean, but for yourselves, you're like, as much as we missed being able to be in a theater and connect with an audience directly and have that feeling of that shared experience, did you feel like at least in a lot of different ways filled that hole that was kind of there by not being able to take the film on the road itself?
100%. I think and also it's something that I doubt will ever happen again. I mean, this is just this unique moment in time, and we're very grateful to get this experience, because, the likelihood of another pandemic in our lifetimes is hopefully very, very low. And, and I don't know if you'll have this experience like this. But it was incredible. Like go and watch them. They're so amazing, and people show up and they're so vulnerable and honest. And there's like some of my favorite ones. It's like you'll see these guys, just from the look of it, it's like they look like super tough guys. Like you're kind of like, if you're at a gas station and that guy's there, you're like, oh, I don't know, this guy's. And then cut to him at the end and he's just sobbing and he's just like, I just love my kids. I'm gonna go wake my kids up right now because I love them. And I think that's what we tapped into, is a lot of the love and appreciating the time that you have right now.
Yeah, it seems like a really kind of simple message, and it's not the first time we've heard it. But I think what's a testament to what, you and Will have done and everyone involved with the project is to be able to articulate it in such a succinct way and in such a relevant way that it resonates with a massive audience. And, it's touched people, it's elevated your career and other people's. And, you can't ask for much more when you set out to create a project, something like this. I'm sure it's exceeded all your expectations in so many different ways, not just personally, but, emotionally.
That's absolutely right. I mean, it's been, having all these deeper conversations with people and having friends reach out and tell me their tales, and it's connecting with us a lot of people. I had a woman contact me. She said, thank you so much for making this. We lost our child last year, and I just really appreciate this film, and it helps me, kind of grieve and process this. And it was so kind that she reached out and said that.
Yeah. Another person has just chimed in a little bit, says, feeling very lucky to have you both join us. And they say beautiful people. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Before we kind of wrap up, it'll be, somebody said me included, but I don't know. That's probably my mom out there. Don't, you can't trust her. She's very sweet, but she's incredibly biased. All right. It's been a really fascinating conversation. I mean, not only do we appreciate the time that you've given us, but the gift that's going to translate beyond just this year. And I think you even feel it yourself that you understand that this film is probably not only touched a lot of lives right now, but it's going to continue to touch kids' lives that have not had a chance to see it yet. And, it's probably going to get used a lot in schools and things like that too, which I'm sure has to excite you that, you created something that's going to go beyond the shelf life of that kind of calendar year that a film generally has. So that's an impressive feat for everyone involved. So we applaud you all about that. That's for sure.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say left to the audience here about this film, or maybe just about, how much money you want them to lay down in Vegas on you guys winning this Sunday? Is it a lot?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How much do you guys have on yourselves? Maybe that's a better question too.
It's like everything. We double down. We're doubling down. We're putting it all. It's either we're gonna be showing up in Edmonton and hoping you sleep on your couch, or we're gonna win. So it's one or the other.
Yeah. Well, this wouldn't be the first Vegas funding story we've had about a short film. That's for sure. 2 years ago, we had a story like that where a couple of people were taking money to Vegas and rolling it. So they were like, "Look, we just got to get a few grand more to get this film done." So yeah, look, thank you to Sydney,
John?
Carrie.
I think John had a question.
Yeah. Everybody. Will,
Kristen, let me say,
you want to say before you go?
One quick thing. As you know, everybody on the board here knows, I run my Oscar contest every year, and I will report to you, Will and Michael, that I've been collecting ballots, and a full half of the people this week have voted for you or for your film. So if that's any indicator, and you know what, my Oscar contest, I've been doing it for about 20 years. If it's any indicator, you're likely to win. So congratulations. And I will say that I immensely enjoyed the film. I was actually blown away with how just some simple lines, shadows and shapes could convey all that emotion. And I was kind of squeamish as I watched it because I knew it was going to happen. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely amazing. going minimalistic was the absolute right choice, and I'm really looking forward to your next project.
Thank you so much, John. That means a lot. Thank you.
I hope you win your pool.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I've got
His
you- I've
goal.
got you
He
down.
wins every year. It's rigged.
Hey, I like John. You're my
Fully
favorite
rigged.
guy right now.
All right, Sid, I'll let you wrap it up. How does that sound?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for joining us. We feel like such proud parents to get to call you guys our winner, and we hope we'll be able to extend that to be our Oscar winners soon. And it's just so great getting to finally meet you guys over Zoom, and hopefully we'll be able to see you guys with your next film. Thank you, Zip, for hosting, and yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us. We love your festival, and we love talking to you. Sorry I had a giant baby. I couldn't give you my full attention, but we loved being here. Thank you.
Yeah, it means a lot to us, and we're just such a fans of your festival, and we can't wait to get back up there, and you know, we'll keep doing, you know, all of Edmonton proud, and thank you so much.
Okay, Carrie has to just say one thing. I just want to circle back to what you were talking about earlier, Michael and Will, about maybe this being finally people will understand short filmmaking and embrace it more around the world. That's certainly something that we've been trying to do with our festival. And one of the things that we came up with about a decade ago was creating a programming strand called Lunchbox Shorts. So where we have our theaters downtown, we have about 8 office towers attached to the movie theaters who are just looking for things to do over the noon hours. So we found partners to give us, you know, restaurants to donate food. And so people will come to our festival, and it starts at 12:10 and it goes till 12:10 till 12:55, so 45 minutes of short films that people can come and grab a lunch and go on into the theater. And I'm telling you, that is our biggest events during the film festival. People come and they clap and they boo and they hiss, but we have turned them on to so many amazing short films because we love them. But also we've learned that give people food and they'll come and see anything. So it's been a pleasure to meet you both, and we wish you every success moving forward. And thank you for the privilege to show your film in Edmonton.
Thank you so much. That sounds like an amazing program. That's such a clever, smart idea. Like, you know, just to kind of do it like that, it's just so wonderful. And I think it's that thing. It's like showing that they're, you know, they're little films, and since they're little films, you can consume them in this way. And I think we're in a culture where like watching a film quickly can be very satisfying. And I think it's like, no matter what the platform is, and you can have a full, huge experience, even if it's just in a little short amount of time.
Yeah, and our audience turnout for those are anywhere from 400 to 600 people on any given day during the film festival. And filmmakers that come just go, really? This many people showed up for short films?
Wow.
We're really, really proud of that. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
I know.
What are you serving?
Well, they're very particular at times, but really they just love how we curate the short film programs, and it's never just a bunch of short films put together. We always are very aware of building an arc within the 45 minutes, and then most people will come and see all 5 programs during the film festival, Monday to Friday. So we're aware of building an arc within the 5 programs as well. So we're not just, you know, throwing films on the screen. It's very carefully crafted. So we like to think it's the films and not so much the food.
I'm actually so impressed with your all of your work with programming. Like that's something we've experienced through this year. It's just like, our film, can be challenging to program because tonally, like you said, you're trying to build an arc, and it's like, it's like on its own, I think it's very successful on its own, but once you put it with, 4 or 5 films around it, that programming becomes challenging. And I've seen festivals do very clever things where they've paired us with live action docs, live action shorts, and they've kind of mixed it to kind of create a better balance. And I saw that as opposed to just some festivals say, well, your animation, you just have to be an animation. And sometimes we never fit, and we didn't get accepted in those film festivals. And I asked them why, and they said, well, we don't have a place within this little section, but if you kind of expand it and say you can actually curate it in these other ways, I'm always very impressed. And also the amount of thought that goes into it. I really commend your guys' jobs,
Should we give a quick shout out to Zip Sid?
Yeah, thank you so much, Zip. Can't think of a better moderator for these things. You always come up with the most thoughtful questions. So thank you so much. We'll let everyone get back to your evenings. And for everyone watching, tomorrow we'll be joined by Doug Rowland, the director behind Feeling Through, the short film that stars the very first deafblind man ever to star in a film. So we're so excited to talk to him as well. Everyone enjoy your evening.